Help, I'm being held hostage by an abusive tenant. Being a landlord might sound like an easy gig. Just rent out your property and watch the cash flow in, right? Wrong. In Ontario, many landlords feel like they're living the life of a hostage, trapped by a system that's supposed to protect both tenants and landlords, but often leaves property owners holding the short end of the stick. Let's dive into the reality of being a landlord in Ontario, where the rules can leave a landlord homeless while their tenant stops paying rent, or the landlord loses tens of thousands of dollars due to excruciating delays. It can really feel like the rules are stacked against you. The backbone of the landlord-tenant relationship in Ontario is the Residential Tenancies Act, RTA. It's designed to create a fair balance between tenant rights and landlord responsibilities. But here's the thing. While the intentions behind the RTA are noble, the implementation is often a bumbling bureaucratic maze. For instance, the RTA restricts how much you can increase rent annually, regardless of the actual inflation rate, limits the reasons for which you can evict a tenant, even bad tenants, and even controls the timeline for issuing notices. And the kicker, it controls who has control over your property. Spoiler alert, it's not the property owner. And when it comes to evictions, the process can be painstakingly slow. Got a tenant who hasn't paid rent in months? You can't just change the locks. You've got to navigate the complex, often delayed process of the Landlord and Tenant Board, LTB. It's not unusual for an eviction to take a year or longer with no rent paid. Speaking of the LTB, let's talk about the elephant in the room: long delays. The LTB is supposed to be the referee in disputes between landlords and tenants, but with backlogs that have seen cases drag on for months, sometimes even years, it's more like a roadblock. According to the Ombudsman's 2023 report, the LTB's delays have left thousands of landlords in limbo. In some cases, it takes over 6 months just to get a hearing. Imagine this: your tenant hasn't paid rent for half a year, and you're stuck covering the mortgage, utilities, and maintenance out of pocket, all while you wait for the LTB to schedule your case. This is no small problem. The report highlighted that between 2019 and 2022, complaints about the LTB's delays skyrocketed by 450%. That's a staggering number, reflecting the sheer frustration landlords face in trying to reclaim control of their properties. By 2024, the numbers are marginally better, but not much. In most cases, the standard is 30 days, but the average processing time for a hearing was 194 days for landlords in Q1. Plus, it could be another 2 months or longer to get the order after that. Not much of an improvement. So, what does this look like in real life? Imagine being a landlord who relies on rental income to pay your bills. You've got a tenant who hasn't paid rent in 3 months. You file for an eviction with the LTB, expecting a quick resolution. But instead, you're told that the backlog means your case won't even be heard for 6 months. Meanwhile, you're hemorrhaging money every month, unable to do anything but wait. A study by the Federation of Rental Housing Providers of Ontario found that the average cost to a landlord dealing with a non-paying tenant is over $9,000, factoring in lost rent, legal fees, and damage to the property. And that's if the process goes smoothly. It's less likely to go smoothly for small landlords who take the brunt of the burden. The small mom and pop landlords with 1 or 2 rental units don't have paralegals in their back pocket. If they make a single mistake on a form, the whole thing can get tossed out after 6 months of waiting and they have to start over. In the meantime, the tenant gets to stay without paying rent, and that thievery isn't even considered a crime. Some landlords have even been forced into financial ruin, facing bankruptcy, or selling their properties at a loss just to escape the nightmare of being unable to evict problem tenants. The emotional toll can be heartbreaking. But it's not just about the money. Landlords often feel helpless, trapped by a system that seems to favor tenants regardless of the situation. The stress of waiting, of watching your property deteriorate while a non-paying tenant remains, can be overwhelming. This sense of powerlessness is compounded by the fact that once you finally do get a ruling, enforcement can be another uphill battle. Even after winning an eviction order, getting the sheriff to carry it out can take weeks, further prolonging the agony. So, where do we go from here? The Ombudsman's report called for urgent reforms to address the LTB's delays, and there's growing pressure on the Ontario government to take action. Landlords are pushing for more resources to be allocated to the LTB, stricter timelines for case resolutions, and clearer guidelines that protect their rights as much as tenants. Many landlords are doing some investigative research to see if their tenant has scammed a landlord in the past. Could they possibly have fraud charges laid? But until these changes come, many landlords in Ontario will continue to feel like hostages in their own homes, trapped by a system that's supposed to be fair but often leaves them out in the cold. The short of it all is that being a landlord in Ontario is more than just owning property. It's navigating a complex legal landscape that can leave you feeling powerless and frustrated. It's time for change. The housing crisis exists due to current policies and a really poor rental resolution system. Landlords need to once again feel secure in their investments and their rights if the government and tenants want more affordable housing units. This is the harsh reality of life as a landlord in Ontario, where the system meant to protect you can often feel like it's holding you hostage. Like and subscribe to support this channel.